Hello, everyone, and welcome to All Things Politics. Let's get right to it, shall we? Michael Jackson. Who remembers Michael Jackson? All right, um, the Michael Jackson of old, before all the issues. The young Michael Jackson with the Jackson Five, then Michael Jackson coming out with Off the Wall, and then Michael Jackson with Thriller, and all those super hits that he created. There was also the Michael Jackson that was very personable, entertainer. No entertainer could surpass his performance. You had a few that was up in that echelon with him, but Michael Jackson was a phenom, right? Um, I can't help but think of Michael Jackson in these times, especially these times when we're talking about certain things that are in files, you know. Um, Michael Jackson, with all his fame and fortune, had troubles. It seemed that there was an effort to not just knock Michael Jackson off the pedestal, so to speak, but there was a concerted effort to dismantle Michael Jackson as an entertainer and as a human being. This was done. It again. There was a concerted effort to um, attempt to dismantle the man, Michael Jackson. There were all kind of issues that were coming up in the news concerning Michael Jackson's behavior or even sexual preference. A lot of accusations or allegations were made against Michael Jackson in regards to those who he had at his Neverland ranch or location, whatever the case may be. And for whatever reason, anything that Michael Jackson said in regards to the allegations would fall or was falling on deaf ears. Now, you have to look at the statement I just made about what he was saying in terms of his innocence falling on deaf ears. Okay, that's one thing. But let's say the alleged victims, even their statements, they're telling the public that, hey, nothing happened, fell on deaf ears. Even the one individual who said something happened at the behest of his parents, because well, it's alleged that it was all a money grab. But after some years, come back into the limelight and said everything that I said was a lie. Now, Michael Jackson again, why he specifically comes into my mind is because Michael Jackson did warn us. He did tell us um, not just about the industry, but the people on the fringes of the industry and the people at the core of the industry were corrupt, allegedly corrupt and evil people. To help support this, I have a clip, and this clip is courtesy of Savvy Sab. I'm a fan of Savvy Sab. I watch her content. I think very insightful content. So I do appreciate the courtesy of being able to use this content in my piece. And before we get to this, and it's explosive. Um, it can help shed light on what's really going on, and not just and this is a mistake people make when we talk about things. We compartmentalize that issue to one box. We don't think to open this thing up and see if there are other boxes that these issues or concerns spill over into. But again, she did such a superb job. And when she mentioned what she mentioned, being that I had already had my mind around Mike and what he said and others, so I'll be playing that as well. It just it fit. It fit, for lack of a better phrase. But let's get into this clip. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to All Things Politics so that we can continue to bring forth as content these informative issues as well as educational concerns or issues for your satisfaction. All right. So here we go with this clip. Very insightful. Sabby Sab. All right, Sabby, do your thing.
Michael Jackson tried to warn us a long time ago. Michael Jackson tried to warn us what was happening within the music industry and Hollywood altogether. But Michael Jackson was labeled a child abuser. He was labeled a pedophile.
Mm-hmm.
He was accused of assaulting and abusing children, which he denied. And after looking at the Epstein files, I didn't see one thing about Michael Jackson.
Isn't that something? Not one mention, not his name one time in the Epstein files. And again, people, I've said on this channel, go and look at previous episodes of content I've dropped regarding the Epstein files. I think the Epstein's file is just the tip of the iceberg. We think that within the Epstein files are files or other files, more explosive, more corrupt. But yeah, his name not mentioned not one time. It says a lot.
It's funny. It's interesting. Some people tried to use a photo of Michael Jackson and they said, this is him on the island. That was actually a picture of Michael Jackson at some Democrat event. He's not there. But a lot of other people are.
And a lot of those people who were probably more than likely some of the same people who was trying to put this burden or this jacket of pedophilia on Michael Jackson. Their names are right smack dab in the middle of the Epstein files. And again, that's just the Epstein files. I long to see, or I can't actually wait to when the Epstein files bust open other files. I think it's going to happen.
And then later on, some of these kids came forward and said that their parents put them up to this to get money out of Michael Jackson. One of them, you may have known of, Aaron Carter. He talked about this, and many others, which we'll get into.
And let me just jump in here. We have people like that who parents whose mindsets are, let's find a way to grab somebody's money. Let's find a way to, let's conceive or devise a way or a plan to take something that we haven't earned from someone else through hook or crook. That's just what I see. And we see this not only in the lives of certain celebrities who are, for the most part, very peaceful people. Michael Jackson never wanted any problems from anyone. You didn't see Michael Jackson arguing and fighting with people in the media. You didn't see that on the news ever. Michael Jackson was one of the most humble, not docile, but one of the most humble and caring individuals in the industry. And that's just in the industry. We don't know what his life was like outside of that. But I say that to say, I think that he was taken for granted. Kindness, you take kindness for weakness. This is what people do. So these families devised and came up with these schemes, or maybe they were coached or handled to do these sort of things. It's something to really think about. But you see this all over the world where people try to come up with ways to take something from someone that they had no input in, that they didn't earn. They just, I want this because you got so much of it. Let me see if I can get a piece of it.
But why did these people come after Michael Jackson? Why did the industry want to take him down? I think we need to go back to Sony. And there was a guy named Tommy Mottola who owned Sony. At one point in time, Mariah Carey, I believe, was married to him, very young at the time. Let me show you what Michael Jackson said about Tommy Mottola. Listen to this.
And Tommy Mottola is a devil. I'm not supposed to say what I'm going to say right now, but I have to let you in on a secret.
Say it.
So, please don't videotape what I'm going to say, okay? Because the companies take advantage of them. They really do. And Sony, being being the artist that I am at Sony, I've generated several $1 billion for Sony, several billion, and they really thought that my mind is always on music and dancing and it usually is, but they never thought that this performer myself would outthink them.
Yeah.
So we can't let them get away with what they're trying to do, because now I'm a free agent. I just owe Sony one more album. It's just a box set, really. It's with 2 new songs, which I've written ages ago.
Michael Jackson at that point in time wanted to get out of, walk away from Sony. These record companies really do own the artists. It's a lot of crazy shit that goes down. Prince was familiar with this as well, because Prince at one point wrote the word slave on his face. He was talking about Warner Brothers. He wanted to get out of his contract. So Prince's way of doing that was changing his name to that symbol. That's how he was able to get out of that. But from what I understand with Michael Jackson, I think he wanted his catalog, which back then you didn't hear as much about artists asking for their catalog like you do today, right? Like, I think Taylor Swift owns her catalog of music. I think she owns her masters, etc. But at that time, not as much. And Michael Jackson basically stood up to Tommy Mottola. And not only that, but he called him out, and he called him out publicly. We'll go on a little bit more here.
Because every album that I record, I write, like, literally, I'm telling you the truth, I write at least 120 songs every album I do. So I can do the box set, just give them any 2 songs.
That has to be considered genius. For every album, 100+ songs. Who does that anymore? Or who does that now? Mike was a phenom, along with Prince. 2 of my favorites. But to write 100+ songs for one album, not bad. Not bad. That's a genius at work right there. Let's get back to this.
So I'm leaving Sony, a free agent, owning half of Sony. So I own half of.
And therein lies part of the problem. Left the plantation, but left the plantation half owner. It's unheard of. Unheard of. And I have another thought. We'll get to that in a second.
Of Sony's, and I'm leaving them, and they're very angry at me because of it. But I just did good business,
Navon, the business travel platform where employees book their own trips, while customizable policies keep your budget intact.
So that part right there, they were very angry with him. They really don't like it when you don't do what they want you to do. They damn sure don't like it when you want to get out of your contract. You guys got to understand, for a lot of us growing up back in the day, Michael Jackson was like one of the biggest artists in the freaking world. And I never went to a Michael Jackson concert, but I know some people who did. And they said it was just like an out of body experience, right? Now we talk about Tommy Mottola. He's also in the Epstein files. There's a email here from Tommy Mottola to Jeffrey Epstein. See what I told you? Like, some of the names they redact and some of them they don't. They don't cover up his name. The Tommy Mottola Media Group, all the way down here, it says, do you need to build a new house on the island as well? That is Tommy speaking to Jeffrey Epstein. There's a response here. Yes, houses. and extra massage room for you in bulletproof glass. So that was Jeffrey Epstein telling Tommy Mottola, an extra massage room for you in bulletproof glass.
Okay. And I don't really want to get into that aspect of Savvy Sab's piece. I just want to point out that Mike knew what was going on before anybody. And I think because there was a perception that Mike was funny, Mike, went another way or whatever the case may be. Again, allegedly, I'm not sure that one way or another, but Mike had a very poignant understanding of what was going on in the industry before anyone. Now, don't forget, again, Savvy just said something that rings true with a lot of us. We were huge fans, Michael Jackson fans, back in the day. We had heard things allegedly that had taken place with Mike, adults who were, attempting allegedly to do things to Mike. We'd heard this way back when, before the 90s, in the 80s, in the 70s, we were hearing funny stuff. But it shouldn't come as a shock to anyone that Tommy is in the Epstein files. In fact, I'm willing to wager that it's just not the music industry execs whose names are in the files. Movie, we already know politicians, royalty, their names are there. Business, elites, their names are there. But it shouldn't come as a surprise that these people who run certain aspects of society, and when we're talking about institutions, we're talking about industries like the music industry or the film industry, things of that nature. Chances are their names are going to show up, and it probably depends on how much they're going to pay to keep their names out of the media limelight. Back to our story.
When I say these were evil people, these are evil, corrupt people. Mm-hmm. Michael Jackson was right about Tommy Mottola. Mariah Carey talked about him too. But Michael wanted to get away from Sony. Michael also, and I can't play it on here because of copyright. Michael Jackson made this song called "They Don't Really Care About Us." They don't care.
I recall that song, and they were livid that he had even written the song, let alone produced it, and then recorded it, had it out there. They were livid. They were livid. I remember that song.
Care About Us. Remember that song where he's like dancing and stuff, and he said, "All I want to say is that they don't really care about us." That was another example of Michael trying to tell us what was really going on. If you go back and you read the lyrics of that song, he was trying to tell you who was really in charge, what was really happening, and that by us, he was talking about all of us, the 99%, those of us at the bottom. And no, they don't care about us. Michael Jackson, because he bucked the system, I believe that's why they came after him with the charges, the child pedophilia charges.
Okay, we're going to leave that right there for right now. Again, this is explosive, I think, content, informative information. Also, to some extent, it can be educational. For those of you who do not really understand or know the history of Michael Jackson and his run-ins with the industry higher-ups, execs, those who run it, all right? Again, I'll echo what Savvy said. There was a concerted effort to knock Michael down and dismantle, tear him from piece to piece, so that he would be the example for others to not cross lines. There are red lines drawn. There are a lot of red lines, and those people love using that term or phrase, red lines. Don't cross red lines. But this is just part one of a 3-part series. This is All Things Politics. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. There's more to be heard. We're going to also provide for you part 2 of this piece. Take care of yourselves and each other.